Hello, I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. Today, we're discussing domestic violence and sexual assault. Abusers are not discriminating. They assault people across all ages, genders, races, and social classes. And sadly, this will affect 1 in 4 women. Here to help us recognize the signs are Lee Dukey, Executive Director of InterAct, and Dr. Stephanie Francis, Director of Education, Training, and Engagement at InterAct. And thank you both for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with an easy question. What is InterAct? Who wants to take that?
Well, InterAct is Wake County's only provider of comprehensive services for victims and survivors of domestic violence and rape and sexual assault. We've been in business for about 38 years now, and we provide 3 24-hour, 7-day-a-week programs at any hour of the day or night. Folks can reach out to us through our crisis lines. We have a 48-bed shelter. And additionally, we have North Carolina's very only sexual assault forensic examination center that is community-based, and it's called the Solace Center.
You won't be offended if I say I wish we didn't need you guys.
Yes.
How big of a problem is this?
Well, as you said, 1 in 4 women will be impacted by this issue. Men are also impacted by this issue. And in 2011, Wake County had the highest number of domestic violence homicides of any county in the state of North Carolina. Of course, we also have the fastest growing population.
Well, we do, but you know, in the intro we were talking about it doesn't really leave anybody, safe. I mean, it seems across all kinds of genders and everything. So what is the, if I may, what would be the typical person that would be subject to abuse and assault? Is there something like that?
I don't think you can say that there is a typical person or an individual who would be a victim or survivor, just like you can't say there's a typical person who could be identified as a perpetrator. I think what we need to understand is that, as you said, it crosses all classes, races, religions, age groups, any demographic characteristic you can think of. Domestic violence crosses it. And so fundamentally what that means is anybody can be a victim or survivor, just like anybody can be a perpetrator. And what it really boils down to is that the dynamic that we're dealing with in issues of domestic violence is one of power and control. And so in an intimate relationship, one person has decided that they want to take power and control away from the other person, and they utilize a number of different tactics and techniques and types of abuse to do that. And so anybody can find themselves in a situation where one person is trying to strip power and control away from them.
And oftentimes that's very difficult for the victim to recognize, isn't it?
It can be very challenging to recognize. One of the things that's important to understand and to note is that the forms of abuse that enter into the relationship in the beginning are typically very subtle, hard to identify, hard to sort of pin down. Often it's verbally abusive behavior and emotionally abusive behavior and psychologically abusive behavior. And then typically as that foundation gets laid, then more abusive behaviors enter into the relationship, and oftentimes more extreme abusive behaviors enter into it. But it can be very difficult to realize that what is happening is that power and control is being stripped away, and that one individual is sort of taking that power and that control over in that relationship.
And we're going to get into more specifically some of those different types of abuses. Now at InterAct, and for folks who are watching and they need to go someplace, they only have InterAct in Wake County, right? What happens when they come see you? What's the process? And obviously you're gaining information. What happens to that information?
Well, first I think it's important to know that the model that InterAct has is really quite unique. It's a co-location model of service delivery, and we have 9 different organizations that are all under the roof right there at InterAct, each one of which provides some aspect of what somebody would need, not just to survive that immediate crisis. but to take what's a pretty remarkable journey towards self-sufficiency, and at the end of the day to truly be able to thrive.
So you can, you have the staff and the people available, or you can connect them with individuals, because oftentimes it's not just the individual, right? You have families involved in this. It impacts everybody.
Precisely. And with us, it really even starts with the Raleigh Police Department's Family Violence Intervention Unit. The entire unit is right at the front of our building. And it is just marvelous to have law enforcement at the front of the building, not just as a deterrent, but also we work very cooperatively and collaboratively with law enforcement. Additionally, we have very recently implemented something called e-filing for domestic violence protective orders. And what that means is that rather than having to go to the courthouse, a victim can come first to InterAct, be surrounded by all of those wraparound services, and file a petition for a domestic violence protective order electronically and even video conference with the judge right there from InterAct, already surrounded by all of the services that they would need, again, not just to survive, but to thrive.
That's a big deal, isn't it? Not
It's a
having to
big
go
deal.
to the actual court building itself. For someone, and from day one to the end, there's a process. At least I'm picking up on that. It's acknowledging you have the problem or the issue that have to be taken, and it's got to be, you got to be brave to do this, I think, to first. But it's also the police, it's the health care, it's the emotional care, and it's the court system. How long of a process can this be for folks?
Well,
Hard to say, I suppose. It's an individual
yeah,
thing.
so it is. It's hard to say sort of what the typical experience is going to be. And I think sort of what we talk about is the fact that we talk about leaving as a process, but also just healing as a process, and working through all of the issues that might arise. And for some people, they may be able to move through that process fairly quickly. For other people, it may take some time, just depending on everything that's involved and what's going on and what different services they do need to reach out to and tap into, in addition to seeking out the domestic violence and sexual assault support that InterAct can offer. So it really will vary, and we certainly do want to be in a position to be able to provide that ongoing support to the clients as they need it. So whether it's calling the crisis line for the first time or walking through our doors to meet individually with a counselor for the first time, but then we can also have continued appointments with them. We can refer them to case management services. They can be involved in support group. We may need to help somebody get placed in the shelter. So there's lots of services along the way to try to support that process as the victims and survivors go through that.
And what about the kids? Do you address that as well?
We do.
And how does that work?
So we do have services for children who have experienced or witnessed domestic violence. Certainly in our shelter program, we bring in women and women with children, so we have families that we serve in the program. And then we also provide care to children in the community, largely through Children's Support Group. And so it's an opportunity, the services that are provided through the group and through our shelter services is really toward helping children have a safe place, have a safe environment where they can share about their experiences and talk about that. And we want to help them develop coping skills and know how to utilize those, and to know how to engage in behaviors that will help them stay safe in that situation, but also help them get kind of the emotional support that they may need as they go through this process.
I appreciate you both being here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and coming up we'll discuss more of the ways that InterAct is working with the community to teach the signs of abuse. So stay with us.